Is my background fine? My background.
Yeah, it's okay.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Bima, you can start to admit the participant.
Do I my position like my face up or
Yeah,
straight?
that's enough.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Can I leave for a while? Yeah.
Yeah. Oke, Bapak Ibu yang baru saja bergabung di Zoom meeting, could you please to switch on your camera video, but you can mute your voice. Bu Siti, we are going to start in 2 minutes ya.
Okay. Yeah. 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I need a glass of water?
Yeah.
Maybe I. Wait.
Selamat pagi Bapak Ibu yang baru saja bergabung. Boleh di on untuk videonya, but could you please to switch off ya? Could you please to mute? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we are going to start in a minute, Ibu Siti.
Okay. Are you gonna push the start button or me?
Yeah, I will start.
Okay.
Okay, good morning Bapak Ibu from Indonesia, and I also read in Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore, and some countries in Southeast Asia. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tasim, who will be the host for... Sorry, Bapak Ibu, could you please to mute your voice? We are going to start the Zoom. Okay, thank you. Okay, firstly, we are going to say thank you so much for your coming in this webinar, preparing a proposal for your master and PhD program, who will be delivered by Ibu Siti Hajar. But before we starting our webinar, I'm going to introduce Ibu Siti Hajar. She has 2 master degrees in Master of Art in teaching English to teach to speakers of other languages, or TESOL, from the University of Sydney, Australia, and also Master of Education in Leadership and Management from Flinders University, Australia, and also Doctor of Philosophy in 2017. Bu Siti is currently working as an academic and also teachers at University of Technology Sydney in Search Gramedia, or in UIG English. And good morning, Bapak Ibu. Could you please to mute your voice, please?
Waalaikumsalam. Di jurusan?
Maybe we use the automatic mute.
Orang yang diskusi masih man.
Batasnya automatic mute, please.
Yeah. But we check first who is speaking.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sinten?
Oke, Bapak Ibu.
Pak Siswa. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pundi kabaripun Bapak?
Okay, we are going to continue. Okay. The facility of this event will be, of course, all of you, for participant even in YouTube and also in Zoom. You are allowed to join our program and get scholarship from us. For the first 20 participants who registered after the webinar, and also free VPT test or English placement test for the first 10 participants, and also the certificates. Actually, how to get a scholarship and also book the VPT test, you can see the screens. You can text or WhatsApp to the number, and also send the email. And how to get a certificate, e-certificate from UIG English, you can write your name and locations in the chat box, or for the one who join or watching this webinar in YouTube, you can also write your name and locations in the live chat. Okay, our sections will be delivered in an hours for Bu Siti, and also 30 minutes for question and answer. So if you have questions, we are going to open in 11. Please write your name, locations, and your questions in the chat box, and also in the comment in Facebook. In YouTube. Then for the questions, we are going to read in the next sections. And now the time is for you, Bu Siti. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tazim. All right. Thank you. Yeah. I'd like to say thank you very much for having made the time to attend this webinar session today. All right. My name is Siti, and today I'd like to share with you a webinar topic on preparing a proposal for your master or PhD program. Let's see the agenda for today's webinar. So we're going to look at the purposes of that the webinar today, and then we're looking at what is research and what is a research proposal, and the structure of research proposal, and I'm going to show you some sample structures of research proposals. One of the purposes of webinar today is to provide or give you some help with your application for doing a master by research or PhD in English. Another purpose of today's seminar or webinar is to help you with your goal to pursue a master by research or PhD in an English or non-English speaking country or university. Research, according to Creswell, research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze information to increase our understanding of a topic or issue. So the keywords there are process and then steps in collecting and analyzing data so that we can understand about a topic or phenomenon under study. What is a research proposal? Research proposal is a concise and a coherent summary of your proposed research. So you have to write it in a concise, a clear version, and it tells clearly to the reader that this is what you're going to do in your proposed study. And there can be different types of proposals, but our focus today is on academic research proposal. Let's have a look at the structure of a research proposal. Structure could be varied, yeah, but in today's webinar, I've come up with 7 main elements of the proposal, and the first one is rational, and then objective, problem statement, literature review, critical perspectives, methods, and significance. Let's have the first one here. The rational. So rational, in other words, is a motivation for the study. So what are your motivations for doing the study? There can be 2 reasons. The first is academic and the second is professional backgrounds. So academic background or your academic interest, yeah. For example, at the moment you are doing a master course by research, and then you are learning about a subject called methodology. And in that methodology, you learn about certain types of theoretical perspectives or orientations, and you might start developing your interest in that particular theory. Let's say constructivism, behaviorism, or critical theory. And research method, you might develop your interest in certain types of research methods, whether it's a qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method. And professional background might also motivate you to do your study. So maybe at the moment you are involved as a research assistant in a team, a research team, and maybe you've been assisting with data collection, data analysis, and data decoding. And you can also be motivated by being a lecturer. So you've been lecturing maybe certain subjects, and one of the subjects interests you the most, and that will be your field of or topic of research at a later stage. Now, what about the aim and objectives? What do they mean? So aim, yeah, the aim of the study is to describe what you hope, what you expect to achieve, and your objectives will you to achieve your aim. So aim is normally in one single aim. So it's very obvious that we can say like to understand, or maybe to explore, or to find, to discover, to investigate, blah 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 blah. Okay, and here the example they use to us to understand the contribution that local governments da da da, and the objectives here it's clearly stated there that this is how you conduct the research in order to help you gain your aim of the study, because aim of the study is very very important. This will help you how you're going to do or data collection and data analysis to be able to achieve your aim. So look at there, like your one of the objectives is to conduct a survey, and then you might do conduct desk research or literature review or secondary research, and maybe doing interview and doing data coding. All this will help you to achieve your aim. And problem statement. So the problem statement, what is problem statement? According to Creswell, problem statement is an issue, concern, or controversy that the investigator or researcher presents and justifies in a research study. So the keywords there, issue, concern, controversy. Yeah. So problem here is things like controversial issue. Now, then how like often students or people ask, like, how do we find problem statement? What is your research problem? And let's have a look. So first you have to decide, what do you want to research, and what is the problem? Why is it a problem? And what has the literature told you about the problem? And is there a gap in the literature? And how use the literature to support the problem, or identifying the gap? And how you explain the problem and justify the problem. So let's give an example. Let me give you an example. In your workplace, right, as a teacher, and we know that the government has recently established a new policy to improve teachers' quality at the school level. And it is the policy of, for example, teachers have to do action research at the school. And now people at the school start thinking about, okay, accent research, what is that? Research sounds very serious, and we are only teachers, we are not researchers, so how are we going to do this research? I'm scared. So teachers might say like this. And then you as a researcher, you might see this as a problem. Wait a minute, how can we help the teachers? How is this concept of action research going to be effective at the school level? And therefore, you are not looking only at the problem that people are talking about in the social media, in your workplace, but also you have to go and find literature, what people say about action research as a professional learning model to improve teachers' quality. And then you will see, oh yeah, there are problems here that future scholars have to further develop this area of research, because we've done lots of research in action research at the school level, action research in social movement and political movement, but nobody has done it in the school level and the school base. So this is going to be a really good problem statement for your study. Next one. Now, Creswell 2016 say that, all right, so you have decided the problem statement, and then ask yourself, how can it be studied, and how or whether it should be studied. Can it be studied? This question means that, okay, this policy is quite new. So maybe like it's been like set out a week ago or 1 month ago. And you can't do the study about this policy and this new progressive initiatives by the government within only like 1 or 2 months upon the introduction of the policy. So that policy maybe, or that progressive attempt has to be implemented for a certain period of time. So let's say it's been done for a year or 2 years, and then you can study about it. Otherwise, there's no data. It's only a beginning of the journey. And should it be studied? Yes, it's very important, because teachers are complaining not being able to do research because they don't have the research skills, because they are teachers, they're not researchers. What should we do about this? And it's very important you should do it. And of course, it has to contribute to the knowledge in terms of how your research will contribute to the use of action research at the school level. And can you access the place? Because sometimes researchers are not allowed to access a certain research site because you are not internal, not insider. You are considered outsider, you can't go there. It's very risky. You are not from the community. So all of these things you have to consider, and whether you have time, resources, and skills to do the study. And then your approach will also guide you how you do the research. Yeah. Okay. What is a literature review? So after deciding your problem statement, and you also start thinking of how your reading of the literature review will help you shape or contextualize study. So what is a literature review? A literature review is an integrated discussion of references where you have to compare and contrast ideas, theories, viewpoints, and methods. So you're not just going to say, oh yeah, these ideas here about this, and these ideas there about that, and this theory say this, and this viewpoints say that, and this is the methodology. That is not enough. You have to compare and contrast ideas critically. And you also have to must comment and evaluate this literature critically in your own academic voice. So academic voice is like this. author say this, author B says this. For example, author say, yeah, we have to do accent research at the school level. And author B say, no, we can't. Teachers are not researchers. And then now your voice, who are you gonna go with, the pro or the cons, or you are in the middle? Yeah, let's see first. Maybe it works. Let's try. Yeah, you never try. You never know the outcomes if you never try. And of course, when doing literature review, you have to select the literature very critically, what you need to use, what you need, and what you don't need. So just take the ones that you need, that relevant to your research, and leave out those that are not relevant. So you don't waste your time spending reading literatures that are not needed. Now, doing your literature review, you also have to demonstrate your knowledge of the most significant writers or leading scholars in your field or research.
Sudah ada nanti Pak Imam.
Okay, so let's give you an example. Maybe you might be thinking of doing action research as a professional learning model at the school level. Now, you have to know the key scholars in your field. Okay? Key scholars here, action research, professional learning model, and English teachers at the school level, for example. Now, you have to know who studied, who invented the action research concept. Here, you have to talk about Kurt Lewin, who is the pioneer of the action research itself. And then because you're doing something or talking about action research at the school level, then you have to find out leading scholar in school improvement. And then you also find out leading scholars in education and wider communities, because talking about school improvement, it's not just the school itself where you just talk about administrators, teachers, parents, and students, but Stephen Covey think about a larger community, a larger society. And you want to make change, you have to make changes as a broad, as a collective way. So here you also look at the Stephen Covey. And because this is a professional learning model for English teachers, you might be thinking of using Anne Burns' publications or articles about using action research at the school level, especially for English teachers. So these are only examples how you demonstrate that you understand or you're aware of the leading scholars in your study. Next one. So, of course, for example, yeah, you're from educational background, okay? And then there's so many issues that you can research or you can concentrate on in your study. And examples here from education, you might be looking at curriculum issue, teaching and learning materials, online learning, flipped learning, classroom-based exercises, social justice, and so forth. And remember that these things may well change as you read more widely and deeply as you go, as your study proceeds. Yeah. So maybe in the beginning you started doing, you think that you want to do teacher professional learning. By then, as you read more and you find out that, oh no, online learning is more interesting. It's more interesting. I have to do something that interests me the most because I'm gonna do this for 3 or 5 years ahead. Yeah. So decide something that you really want, and then you is very interesting to you and is meaningful to you. Yeah, and also how they are talked about in the literature, and it can be a very useful strategy. Okay, so doing the literature review, you have to argue for the validity of your area of research in terms of the needs to address a gap, because when you do research, you have to contribute to the gap in the literature. So gap here meaning that, okay, people have done something in education like about 9 things, but one thing they haven't done it. Yeah, so we know what's going on in those areas here, but one area here is missing. So you will contribute your study by doing contribute to the knowledge by doing research to fill in the gap. So what is already known and what is not yet known. So the what is not yet known is the gap itself. And this is very important, yeah, that literature review is not a list of studies, is not a summary of studies, but literature review requires a number of significant skills like critical analysis and evaluation, how you develop your critical thinking and critical analysis in your writing, and how you paraphrase this. So copying or citing ideas from other scholars, it doesn't mean that you copy exactly at what they are, but you have to paraphrase, re-say it, restate in your own words. So how to do this is not easy, but you can develop, you can learn. And synthesizing in grouping ideas together, and then you compare and contrast. Yeah. And annotated bibliography. Annotated bibliography is the skill of writing a synopsis, yeah, literally like a synopsis. But in annotated bibliography, you will write about the purpose of the study, the methodology of the study, the strengths and weaknesses of the study, and how you have learned from the study to shape your own research design, or how what the study helps you to develop your own context of the study or your research focus. And as a researcher, you also have to have the skills of navigating the computerized databases. And apparently, these days, you know that search engines like Google and Google Scholars, they're very important, but you have to know how to use a proper type of correct keywords to find literature that you need. And also, databases like, ProQuest, Web of Science, Science Direct, all these things are very useful for you. In education, ProQuest is very, very well known for educators, researchers. And okay, so all these skills here, it will develop over time and with practice, of course. Yeah. But don't get discouraged with this, because if you take academic English course, for example, at UIG, we're here to help you to develop all the skills that you need so that you can produce a very critical, very solid, robust proposal. Now, the questions of how to argue ideas critically. The first thing is you have to read, read, and read. Without reading, you don't have anything to say, okay? Next one, when you read, of course, you have to have the reading skills. How to develop this? At UIG, we help you to develop your reading skills, because we give you reading academic reading every week, and you are encouraged to also present what you have read in the literature, so that you can express or tell people how your evaluations of the topic or the article that you have read. And also bear in mind, when you do your reading, yeah, pay attention to the language used by the authors in their critical analysis section, or how they evaluate the articles. Because when you read, yeah, I always pay attention to the evaluations language. So I copy and paste and put it in my folder. And in the future, when I write my own analysis, I will copy that style, but I still have to adjust that style into my own context. So it doesn't read funny, because you copy but you forgot to adjust it your own context. And learn about how reviews are written. And at UIG, we also offer this kind of program to be critical, to be a critical thinker in your analysis, or in your reading and in your writing. Now, so when you read, ask all these questions: who, when, what, why, how. Yeah. So when I normally print out an article, then I have a pen and a pencil, and I scribble around the text: why, how, wow, how did it happen? So what's next? I don't believe this, really. Let me check other references. So that is really good, because when you keep reading but also keep thinking critically, it says your brain is working, and then it will encourage you to find and deeper, and find and dig more knowledge of the topic that you are interested in. And therefore, the chapter review needs to demonstrate that you have shown your work, and you build your knowledge on, or you build your study on previous work. This means that this is how knowledge is developed. Yeah, and so knowledge is developed through scientific process, which is through the research. So people say that knowledge development is kind of like a building block. When you build a house, you put bricks on top of each other to make a strong building or foundation. And your research should be different from previous work. It can't be the same. Otherwise, it's not a really robust work, right? And of course, your reading, your literature review will help you refine your research questions. Often when students begin their study, they don't really have this real or a very clear idea of research questions, and formulating research questions are not easy. And it might be that your research question might be developed or maybe refined a bit, uh, because it depends on your reading. So maybe you read more and more, you think like my research questions not really good, I have to develop. So I've learned from this article that it's quantitative study, the questions are like this. Qualitative study, the research questions are like this, or mixed method research questions should be like this. So you refine the research questions. Yeah. So then, establish the rhetorical orientation you are planning to take when you when you read, pay attention to the theory that is used by the authors that reported in the literature. So bear in mind, just keep an eye on this one, and very important because when you are doing master by research or PhD, you really need to have a theory as a basis or foundation of your study. If you don't use a theory, your study will not be theoretically informed and not academically strong. So what is a theory then? According to Lear and Smith, cited in Amanda, 2013, a theory is a set of interrelated concepts, okay? So a set of interrelated concepts. So for example, in my study, I use Foucault. So you can read like key concepts of Foucault theory. Yeah. So a theory has integrated concepts, and all systematic concepts where they help you to explain, understand, and predict the phenomenon under study. So in a nutshell, a theoretical framework refers to the theory that a researcher chooses to guide their research. And and of course, theoretical perspective or framework helps you to how to design your research, whether it's a quantitative or qualitative or mixed method, and how to formulate research question and how to collect, analyze, and interpret data. So for example, the theory that I've used in my doctoral study is the theory from we call Foucauldian approach. Yeah? So Foucauldian approach has lots of concepts in there, and one of the main thing about designing research question according to Foucault is that you can never ask questions of you can never ask questions in qualitative study by using what and why, because to explain about the phenomena emerging in the society, it's not as simple as saying, oh, because why teachers are not uh, why teachers are not able to do the research. And if you say why, then the answer will, oh, because they are not researchers. Is it that? Is it true? Because maybe other people can help them out to be able to do it, because people can learn, right? So here we use how rather than what or why questions, okay? And therefore, researchers using this certain theory, they will construct the research question using how, because the answer will be varied, because lots of factors contributing to the ineffectiveness of action research, for example. Okay, and then from that theory, it will guide you to collect the data, it will guide you to analyze the data, and it will guide you in how to interpret the data. So one theory will help you along the way from the beginning to the end of your journey. Okay, next one, theoretical perspective. So maybe in your current field of studies, yeah, you have to certain theory, certain or well-known theories in your fields. For example, Karl Marx conflict theory in the social science discipline, behaviorism in education, and so forth. And Okay, theoretical perspectives are also known with other terminologies like theoretical framework or lens or conceptual framework, analytical framework, and paradigm. So you see here, different disciplines will use different terminologies. So for example, religious studies, they use theoretical framework or lens. Conceptual framework is used in economic field or discipline and science, and then analytical framework is used in science, especially in mining industry, and paradigm is used in economic, in here in this case like microfinance. Now, so let's have a look at an example of the theory. So theory here, the concept that is introduced here is, so the concept introduced here is, for example, behaviorism, new behaviors or changes, let's say, and through association of between stimuli and response. So here, for example, if we use this behaviorism in the field of education, teachers might like to use different stimulating activities. For example, group discussion, pay work, presentation, project. All this will help with the improvement of teaching quality and learning quality. Maybe teachers and students are better in this approach. Yeah, so they try to use behaviorism in their teaching and learning process. Now let's look at what. Now the next one is about research methods. So research methods here. Okay, when we talk about methods, we mean research methods. Yeah, so research methods are the tools or something. So research methods here, the tools or process or ways by which researchers obtain their data. And research, in doing this research and in this method, of course, you also have to design your research. So Chris will say that research design is a plan according to which data will be collected. So before you go out to the field to get your data, you have to make a plan, like how many stages or phases of the study. And then the first stage is, for example, giving up participant information. And then the second stage is you collecting the data. And then next one is analyzing the data and then report the data. And as a PhD or Master by Research student, where your proposal will provide some evidence that you are qualified to do a research degree, or you have already begun the research design process. So when you apply for a scholarship or you apply for entrance to a university that you are going to do your PhD or Master by Research, your research proposal will tell the potential supervisor or potential so-called scholarship agents or potential university that you have the qualification, you have the skills to do the research or to get the degree. So they will approve your application. So you have to prepare this really well. And remember that there can't be any there can't be one single approach to research design, yeah, because this is all dependent on the disciplines that you are doing, and also it might change over time. So for example, you at the beginning you thought that you're going to do mixed method, and then along the way you think like, oh no, mixed method is too complicated, I'm going to do quantitative, and then towards like a few months later, you think like, maybe qualitative is much better for me. So these things is very plausible and it's applicable and doable. So this is very, very possible to happen. So bear in mind or be aware of this if these things happen, and it's a process. So you can experience different process along the way. Now, so talking about research approaches, research design, qualitative and quantitative, there's a lot of criteria, but I'm just come up with these two main things. So qualitative study, of course, the aim is to gain an in-depth understanding of underlying reasons and motivations, whereas in quantitative study, the focus is on the quantification of the data. And in qualitative, you aim is to get the insights into the setting of a problem or phenomenon, whereas in a quantitative study, the focus is on generalizations of results from a sample of an entire population. Okay. And there are more examples here of the differences, yeah? So in qualitative, you will be looking at the smaller number of participants, okay? So it can range from 1 until 30, yeah? 30 participants in a qualitative study. Whereas a quantitative study, you have a large number of populations where it can start from about 200 participants up to 5,000, 6,000, even 10,000. And data collection in a qualitative study, it tends to be unstructured or semi-structured, but methodologically flexible, very flexible. You can do your research anytime and depending on the availability of the interviewers and the interviewee, and you agree to set your own time. Whereas in a quantitative study, it's highly structured and rigid in a way, yeah? And qualitative data emphasizes non-statistical aspect, and they need a concrete material. So maybe you'd study about reflective journal, you just need the reflective journal to evaluate and analyze teachers' journal, for example. Whereas in quantitative study, you just use statistics and tabulations and so forth. And in qualitative study, you doing with this interplay between theory and analysis. Yeah, you always cross and check with what the theory says and what your data says. And in quantitative study, you generates reliable population based on generalizable data. When the very distinctive difference here is in quantitative study, you're looking at cause and effect relationships. And the outcomes of the qualitative study not conclusive and not generalizable, because it might only apply in certain context and culture, but you have a deep understanding of the thematic you have a deep understanding of the topic itself. And whereas in quantitative study, the results, the findings will be very descriptive and conclusive. I refer back to the numerical framework. Now, then the question is, so which methods to choose? Okay, depend on the nature of the project, the type of information needed, and the context of study, and the availability of resources. In this case, time, money, and humans or people who are involved. So, for example, the study on action research. Okay? So the action research here, you cannot do it in a quantitative way because it's a process of doing research by teachers at the school level. You cannot just use like quantitative study to explain or understand the process of doing action research at school, because if you're doing quantitative study, you just play with a number. Question yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And what does this all mean? If you want to know about teachers' perception, teachers' perspectives, teachers' view, teachers' complaints, teachers' feeling, then do qualitative study in this case. Yeah. Okay.
Ini lebih ke kategori tadi ya.
Okay, and then with dealing with methods, we're looking at participants, whether it's human and non-humans. It can be people, can be an animal, can be plants. And you have to justify why the participants and how you create them and why you're creating that way. So why the participants, why teachers, and if you recruit them, for example, a contact person, and why you're doing that. Maybe because you know the person to be able to allow you to access that research participants in that specific school. And how many? 2, 3, 4. You have to say why this number, why only 1, why only 2, why only 3. And methods of data collection, that can be a variety of collection. Here, you can do interview or observations or group discussions and document analysis or research diary and survey or field notes, experiments, discourse analysis, reflective journal, or shadowing people. And data analysis techniques, you have to say what techniques you're using. Often, I found students say that data will be analyzed. Only that. Analyze using what? You have to have a techniques of data analysis. Each theory has their own techniques of data analysis. So go back to your theory and find out what techniques are commonly used in your type of study, in your context of study. So qualitative analysis, you can use thematic analysis or discourse analysis, and quantitative study, you can use fixed effect model or regression model, and many more different types of analysis. Now, designing research questions, yeah? So be very careful. Not all research questions apply to different types of studies. So let's say qualitative study, normally you will have what and how, but it also go back to your theory. What does theory say? That can you formulate research question using what and how, or only how? Okay, so here is the example here. The authors use two different types of question, what and how. And quantitative study, yeah, quantitative study, the very general, is very common that they use yes no questions. It could be is, or could be are, could be do, does, can, and so forth. So they only want the answer yes or no. So for example, are you happy with the online studies? Are you happy with the are you happy with the and government initiative of doing classroom-based action research at school? And teachers say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And is this the only thing that you want to find out? And then go ahead. And mixed method, it can be a mixture of both yes, no, plus how. And here is the example. Okay. Now, another important aspect, yeah, a significant aspect that you need to consider is ethical considerations, which means how you can do your research ethically, in an ethical manner. I know that this is not very well considered in some countries, yeah, but when you're thinking of doing your research in advanced countries like Australia, America, or European countries, ethical consideration is very important. You have to think about it from the beginning of your journey until the end. So before you go and do your interview with participants, you have to tell them, you have to ask them, you have to show them that you are eligible to do research on this topic. And you want to ask them whether they want to involve in your study. If they don't know anything, yeah, someone is eating up rice, and then you come here and say, hey, can you answer my research question? And say, what is research question? And then he just say yes or no. And this is not right. Yeah, this is not ethical. You treat these people without an ethical, not in an ethical way. And because you have to involve them in your study, you have to it has a process to do this. So first thing, you have to apply for ethical clearance from the university that you are studying. And then you have to attach in your ethical clearance the participant information sheet, the consent form, whether the participant agree or disagree to be involved in your study. And then you have to have the gatekeeper approval, or permission giver, whether the gatekeeper here, for example, the school principal, do they allow you to do the research with their teachers at the school? Maybe you're not allowed to, so you have to have this approval. And data collection instruments, how do you say that you're going to research with them? What do you say? How are you going to do it? Are you going to interview them? Are you going to observe them? If you observe them, tell them, I'm going to observe you for an hour every week or every month, like that. Yeah. So and remember that universities won't allow you to do your study without this ethical clearance application. Okay, and another thing to consider is potential problems and solutions to the problem. Yeah. So, for example, nothing is really work out. Maybe what you plan to do in the field is not really it's not gonna be achievable because of some reasons. So you have to anticipate the problem so that you can prepare or you can prepare some strategies. If this problem happens, then I will do this, so that you can your research keep going. So you won't stop because of this, but you have to keep doing, because time is clicking. You have to finish this in 3 months. You have to go back to university and write your report, and your scholarships is ending in few months. So you have to be uh, really practical in this way. So here, for example, your potential problem could be participant recruitment. Yeah, you planning to do a interview with 20 people, and then actually nobody is interested. And then how are you going to do this? You advertise your research in social media like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or say like, yeah, I'm looking for some participants to be involved in my study, and you will get a voucher of 50,000 for a movie ticket or a McDonald's or pizza. Another thing is an anticipated event. For example, you going to interview someone in a place, and then you suddenly there's a power outage, and then your battery is flat. And how you going to do this? You have to prepare power bank so that when the electricity is blacked out, you can still recharge your phone using the power bank, so that you interview still can be run. Okay, and some other problems that you have anticipated could be interview process, ethical considerations, participants withdrawal, sample collection, and laboratory work. And think about the solutions to all these problems. Now, the end of this is the end of the structure of the research proposal. Yeah, so significance or expected outcomes. So your study has to contribute to knowledge. In this case, you add to the existing literature, and then you might the findings might confirm or disconfirm previous studies or previous results, and you might inform about best practices. Yeah. So, for example, you're doing a classroom-based exercise at the school level, and then you find out that the best practice of this exercise is that we don't need national exam, or we don't need vice principals that deals with admin work examination. We want the vice principal that is playing a role as a human resource development, okay, manager. And you also offer to the literature, to the people, that you give some room for future research to be able to further develop certain maybe method, or develop this research into other areas or things like that. And your contributions can also be to professional practice or improvement for practice, and your research also has to contribute to policy changes. Okay, and of course, some other important elements in your proposal: cover page, abstract, table of contents, supervisor, funding, timeline, references, and appendices. So here are the samples of research proposals, like generic research proposal. Generic research proposal is the template that is given by the university or scholarship agency for you to be able to write something for your scholarship application of your entrance or your entrance application to university, whereas non-generic research proposal is more specific to one's field of study. Here are the example. So this is Griffith University, like you can write no longer than 2 to 3 pages, and all the others items in there. And University of Sydney, they say you can only write the proposal up to 2,000 words. And here are the other aspects in your proposal. The template is there. And here is the example. This one is the example of non-generic, where you've studied your master by research or PhD, and this is what you have come up with. Your table of contents and introduction neatly set out with page numbers and everything in there. So this is more specific to your field of study. Another example is there. Here, very well constructed, yeah, very well planned, and that's all about it. Now, the question then, how to further develop your skills in developing your research proposal for a master or research or PhD program in English. Here at UIG, we provide academic English courses from level 1 to level 6, and especially for level 6, we offer English for research for those who are studying or embarking on their PhD program or master by research overseas in the English-speaking countries. Okay. So I think that is the end of my presentation today, my webinar. And thank you very much for listening. And don't forget that next Wednesday, we have another webinar session on winning a scholarship of your dream, and I will be the presenter. Thank you very much. And it's time now to welcome any questions if you may have.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Siti, for the explanations. We already calculate and write down your questions. Can you see the screen, Bu Siti?
Yes, me. Okay. Well,
Okay, wait a minute.
Madam.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, the first questions is from, okay, this one. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay, from Pak Ilham.
all right.
Ya, Pak Ilham from Bengkulu and also Pak Abdul Rahim from Tangerang. Two of them has a questions. What is the main differences between a research proposal for master and PhD degrees?
Okay. So there can be two interpretations here. Yeah. So you. So the question here can mean that is this going to be like you applying for a scholarship or an university, or when you do this when you are doing your master or PhD at the university, and this means you're already there. So let me start with if you're applying, you're planning to uh, apply for a scholarship. Yeah, there's no difference between proposal of a master degree uh, and PhD. So both those applicants of the scholarship will be given the same format from the scholarship agents. Yeah. So there's no difference. Master by research or coursework or PhD. If you apply for scholarship, the format of the proposals given by the scholarship agent will be the same for everybody. Next one, if you have already studied the master or PhD in the university, the difference will be your master degree, a master proposal will be, especially for master by research, yeah, your document will be less than the PhD. So maybe your proposal will only be like maybe 10, 15 pages, but for PhD, 50 or 60 pages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, for the next questions.
So and also sorry, the first question is for master, you don't have to do research, like not really a genuine research. Yeah, you don't really have a genuine research in there because it's only a master and you only do for maybe part of your coursework. It's just doing a master, writing a proposal or doing research in a master by coursework, maybe only 6 months, or by research, maybe 1 year. But the scope is very short. The scope is not as big, as large as a PhD document.
Okay.
Yeah, but you might apply maybe certain theory there, but it's not that really genuine yet for as a PhD. Okay, next question.
Okay, Bapak Ibu, if you have any questions in Zoom, you can directly switch on your video and your voices. For the next questions, is there any?
Is it a compulsory? Is it compulsory to continue the research on undergraduate program for a master degree? Okay, your question could mean like you've done research for your undergraduate on certain topic, and then when you want to continue to a master program, whether you're going to use the same topic, um, you shouldn't be learning anything if you do the same topic or the same research design. So maybe that topic can be expanded. Yeah, so you focus on certain area, for example education. When in your undergraduate you're doing research area in class curriculum studies, then in your master you might develop into other topics, so that will enrich your background knowledge of research and the context itself. So not the same, it's better.
Okay, Bu Siti, this is okay if any question in bahasa Indonesia.
What about other participants? Would they understand in Indonesian?
Yeah, hopefully. Okay, for the next questions is from, wait a minute. Okay, from Miguel, Jakarta. How to avoid bias, Miss Siti, when using any literatures?
Okay, I can read that. Thank you. So how to avoid bias when using any literature? People maybe people may have invented theories, opinions on their own, but their background, personal interest, even mindset may make contribution on the theories and opinions that been invented. I asked this so I would know how to use theory objectively, not subjectively. Okay, the
Okay.
long question there. Right. So a theory is not just a statement. Or people suddenly say, I want to say this statement. Theory has theory goes through lots and very deep research investigations. Yeah, a theory. For example, let's say this one here. Yeah, Foucault. How long did he spend studying about power? How long did he spend studying about ethics in research? How long he spent his time study about aesthetics methods and epistemology? So all this is not just like a very simple statement, but all these theories come from
Nomor 5, Mas. Matahari terbit di sebelah barat, tenggelam di kiri.
very robust research. Yeah. So now to help you to use the theory objectively, of course, when you're looking at the theory, you're not looking at the person who's invented it, but what the concept they are giving, what the concept they are trying to say, and how the concepts can be used in your or applied in your own study. If you're not interested in the concept, leave it. Find another concept or find another theory. So for me, I think that the theory are not just a very shallow work. It involves years and years of studying about a phenomena, and then those philosophers come up with these ideas. But based on the studies that they've done, like for example, Foucault has he did his study in 1920 something, where he studied a lot about the government in that age where. Like truth only came from the kingdom, from the government. Yeah, nobody else can go against the truth that they have said. If you go against, you can be killed. Yeah. So
Okay.
he lived from that age, and what he say, they represented what happened in that area. But people, scholars continue developing these concepts, and that's why future researchers trying to use that theory and see maybe other arguments out there, other phenomenon out there that we can explain why this phenomena happens. It's not the same as what Foucault said in the past. Therefore, you can disconfirm what he said. Yeah, and that is how you become objective, because you may support or you may disagree or you might disconfirm the study, and that is very fair in academic field. Okay.
Okay. Enough?
Yeah.
Okay. For the next is from, wait a minute. From Melanie, Yogyakarta. Ibu Melanie.
I'm an English teacher having a master degree now. Yeah. Okay. You mean having a master degree now? So you hold a master degree. You want to do research in English curriculum development in your school. May I have your suggestion on problem limitations for this one? People say it is impossible to finish all everything during my study. So if you're doing a master course, your master course, you have to find out how many years of your master course program. So for example, your master course is for 1 year or 2 years. Yeah, and therefore, you have to look at the feasibility of the program. So if you, in your proposal, you will have timeline, right? Your timeline. So you will be required to produce your timeline when you're going to start and when you're going to finish. So if you think you can't do, it's not feasible, it's not attainable, then why do it? So you have to, it has to make sense to you and to your supervisors or other people who read your work, right? So, so curriculum is very broad, right? So it's a very broad area. So what are you looking at here? Is it about the policy of a curriculum, or is it perceptions of teachers working on this curriculum, or the perceptions of teachers using materials based on this curriculum? So you have to focus on one single particular focus. Yeah. So we're talking about field of study, topic of research, and focus. So you have to have a really clear focus of what you're doing, and it has to be achievable within let's say 1 year of your master program. So if you have planned it really well, why not doing it? Yeah. So back to your focus and your plan.
Okay. The following question is from Bapak Hasanul Fahmi.
Okay.
Okay, how can you see the screen?
Not yet.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, can you see this?
Only on the top line.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Can you see this?
How to concise? Okay. Only okay. How to produce a concise, consistent, and relevant ideas in paragraphs. Yeah. Okay. This is a very good question about how to write a good academic paragraph writing. Yeah, or a good academic uh, uh, document. Right. So how to write this concisely? It's not an easy it's not an easy way to do it, but you can learn about this. Yeah. So let's say it has to be. You have to think first. Tell yourself to think logically. Yeah, doing the logic. Can you do logic? Can you think, because sometimes I found students like they're not logic. They say 1 2 3 and they start writing with 3 2 1 or 2 1 3 and 3 1 2. So you have to be able to do logic. Okay, logic.
Okay.
So, logic will tell you the connection or correlation between ideas. So okay, I have a plan in my writing, 1 2 3. In this writing, I want to say, or I'm gonna argue about 3 main ideas. So first, da 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 da, next da 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 da, last da 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 da. And then how you coherently connect all these ideas together, it also comes from your plan as well. So first you want to say the main idea or in the paragraph, and then followed by examples. Yeah. So in one paragraph, only one idea and examples, and then the second paragraph, the second idea and examples, and the last paragraph, first the third idea and supporting arguments or examples in there. So this is a very short or brief version of how to write in a coherent and a cohesive way. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, being logic, do logic. If you're not logic, you can't do this.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Siti. And for the next question is from Sampit, Kalimantan.
Okay.
Ibu Lydia Pronika.
All right. I would like to know what's the difference between research background, problem statement, and literature review. So if you came earlier, you might have noticed that I've talked about, okay, I use the word rational, yeah, rational. I didn't use background. So I used the word rational. So rational came up in my first structure of the research proposal, the first element in research proposal, which is rational. Also, rational here is the motivation for the study. So other people might use the term background, but it means the same, it's a rational. But in the background section, you talk about the problem that you found in your workplace or in the literature that you can further develop as your research topic. Yeah. And problem statement is what you see as a problem. So problem statement is what you see as a problem in your study. So as I gave an example before, like government has introduced a new concept of a new policy on classroom-based action research done by teachers at the school level. But then nobody can do, maybe it's difficult to do this without the help or the assistance of external researchers from university, for example. And how doing top-down training program that often encouraged by the government, that they provide trainers from the central office in Jakarta, and they send out the trainers to the provinces, and they invite, hey teachers, come to this training on classroom-based action research. Now we're gonna talk about what is action research, and this is how you're gonna do it. And then they say, all right, thank you very much for coming to this training. We hope that our session will be useful for you. And then teachers go back to their school and they don't do anything. They do nothing, because we learn about the theory and then how to put this into practice, and therefore you might think that this is as a problem that teachers of government cannot just introduce the policy and send out trainers to provincial level, and they expect that the teachers to do the research by themselves. So this is the problem statement that you can say in your proposal. Yeah, and literature review is you reviewing literature critically by looking at reading what people have done, what people have studied in the area of curriculum, for example, and then what they haven't done in this area of research. Or they've used the quantitative study, but quantitative study is not much done. So maybe I will do qualitative study, or maybe mixed method, because not so much research on qualitative mixed method. So I'm going to do this if using mixed method approach. Yeah. So literature review, you may talk about all relevant ideas with your topic of research. So it has to be relevant. So you're talking about, for example, accent research, you have to do literature reading on accent research and professional learning at the school level, if you're working in the school level.
Okay. Okay, for the next questions, I'm going to read Miss Siti.
Okay.
Okay, from Ibu Amalia Mahmud on the YouTube, what the functions did you use to decide how many subjects or samples that involved in your study?
Say again, the sample.
The functions did you use to decide how many subjects or samples?
Function that I use to decide how many subjects.
Yeah.
And how many subjects and
or samples that involved in your study?
Okay, good question. So you might consider, first, let's see what approach are you going to use. Is it a quantitative or qualitative? Yeah. And if you're doing a qualitative, the sample can be from one person, yeah, until 30 participants. So you say you can do only with research with one person. It's very applicable and doable, and it's reasonable in qualitative study. So you can only do with one person. You can also do with 2 people or 3 people or 4 people. Yeah, as long as you can get the access to those 8 people or 10 people. But be aware that if you're doing interview, you might not think about too many people in your study, because that's gonna be like, wow, that imagine about your interview like 20-30 people, and you have to do this transcription, record, and then you transcribe those data statements during the interview, and there's also like overloaded work in those kind of thing. But is it visible to do that? If you have you can get 5 people or 6 people, that will be enough, because you are looking for the in-depth understanding of the phenomenon under study or the topic itself. Yeah. Whereas if you're doing quantitative study, you can decide, for example, the sample of the populations. There should be certain kind of like calculation in there or formula in there, like out of 10,000 population, how much can you use, or how many people can you use in your study as a representation of the whole population. And yeah, I think that's all. So it depends on your research approaches, quantitative or qualitative study, and also accessibility. If you decided 100, 500 for quantitative study or 1,000, but you can't get that much, then you have to be flexible. Maybe you reduce to 600 or 700. It depends on your the availability of the participant and how you recruit them. How can you get as many as you can through which appropriate media that you can use.
Okay, for the next is from Bapak Maulana Mualim, Bu Siti.
Okay. Was wondering if we can use questionnaire in qualitative studies also to describe data in the form of percentage. No, because doing qualitative study, you're not dealing with numbers, right? Percentage numbers, these are these things like numbers and data and statistics, they belong to quantitative. So you cannot mix them all together unless you want to do further research. For example, from qualitative study, many people say something about A, and then the majority of the people say A, and the minority of the people say B, and you want to know more about this by developing a quantitative study based on your qualitative study that is plausible or that is okay. But if you only do qualitative study and you fill in this data, sorry, the percentage or statistics, then it's not a qualitative, it's not a pure qualitative study anymore. So you're not going to ruin your study. Yeah, you have planned for qualitative study and you can't use numbers or statistics in that study. But you can still develop that into a quantitative study, which is a separate study from your qualitative study. Okay.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay. For the next questions, Bu Siti from Bapak David.
Okay. It's very exciting explanation about method. So how to define our method, whether our study is a qualitative or quantitative one, since I feel like that I'm more qualitative one. Okay, good question. So you already said that, like, okay, I'm more kind of a qualitative person, and therefore, yeah, why not doing a qualitative study? Me too, like, I don't like numbers, I don't like statistics, and then I just want to do qualitative study. I like dealing with people, I like relationship, I want to talk to people, I want to develop relationship with people. I don't like the number, I don't like dealing with tables and statistics. I don't like dealing with tabulation. I want to deal with people directly, talk to them, engage with them in the community, like ethnography research and so forth. So yeah, it's pretty much back to your own preference actually, or your own preference or your way. When I remember when doing my PhD, I wanted to do a mixed method, but my supervisor said that no, Siti, I'm a qualitative person. I'm not dealing with numbers. So let's do qualitative. Yeah. And then also my other friends from Nigeria who was doing or involved so much in quantitative studies in his work. Yeah, when he was but he in a master stage. But when he went to do a PhD at UQ, and the supervisor said that if you want to do quantitative, you feel free to change your supervisor. Feel free to find somebody else to supervise you because I'm not into quantitative. So if you want to stay with me, then let's do qualitative. And he shifted to a quantitative approach. And of course, at the beginning, you felt like, I'm not familiar with this qualitative study. I've been involving in a lot of projects through quantitative study, but I'm trying. I'd like to try to do the qualitative study. So just be flexible. And also quantitative study, remember, you're not gonna do it yourself. Yeah, I have an example of a friend who actually who didn't like numbers, who didn't like statistics, and she. So when she started her PhD in the first year, she explained to the supervisor that, yeah, I'm going to do qualitative study, as I said it in proposal. And the supervisor say, look, your topic of research is very interesting, very good, and we can get more, we can contribute more if you can do mixed method in here. And then the student said, but I'm not good at numbers and statistics. I can help you because I'm teaching statistics, I'm teaching quantitative methodology, so I can help you out. So if you don't have this quantitative skill, but if your researcher is strong in statistics, they can help you out. I've seen these people, supervisors help the students at the desk about statistics matters in the computer, so they help you out. You can also hire a research assistant in helping you with statistic issues. Yeah. So don't worry if you want to do quantitative or mixed method and you don't have that skill. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. You can have a research assistant to help you out. But in your research proposal, you should mention that I will need research assistant to help me with statistics and data tabulation, etc. And people will understand that. Yeah, and that is very applicable or reasonable to do it.
Okay.
Next question.
From Pak Ridwan Sarif.
Okay. I would like to ask you about hypothesis.
Oh, wait. This one?
Okay. How to make good conceptual framework in research proposal for master program. So conceptual framework, good conceptual framework in research proposal for master program. So as I said before, I don't know your background, yeah, your discipline background. If you're from, let's say you're from education, right, and you want to do a study on curriculum, okay, and or maybe online learning. So this online learning issue is very popular at the moment because of the corona, and maybe many people write about online learning. And then online learning, you can think of maybe Vygotsky talks a lot about, for example, technology as well, in terms of constructivism theory, yeah, or social cultural theory. So go and find out how this curriculum, or how this, for example, you're talking about online learning, and then you type or search in the Google keywords, maybe theoretical perspectives in online learning studies, and see how Google Scholars or ProQuest give you the database on articles or studies on that particular topic of online learning. And here, of course, you will see different authors may apply different theoretical perspectives. Then you have to choose or decide which theory are you going to use. So it all depends on your interest. If you think this theory is relevant to your particular topic, then use it. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's not. Yeah, I'm saying this. It maybe sounds very abstract because. Yeah, but when you do the course, we help you out with how to develop your theory that is relevant to your research.
Okay.
Okay, but first just find on Google a theoretical framework in online learning studies, for example, in online learning area, and find what theory there that is applicable. And if you like it and it's relevant to your research area.
Okay. There is an interesting questions, Bu Siti. We are talking about qualitative and quantitative. How if the lecturers do not know about qualitative, as you know that as the advisors for master degree should know both.
They okay, and then
Yeah, how to face it.
all right. So if you're interested in doing a qualitative study, but your supervisor is not strong.
Yeah, in one even qualitative or quantitative.
Okay, right. So first thing first, before you do your study, yeah, and of course you are looking for potential supervisors. Okay. Now, a good researcher will find out your potential supervisor's background. Okay. If you find that the potential supervisors, they should have published a lot. Okay.
Okay.
They should have published a lot. Read their publications. Okay. Now let's say 20 publications. Out of 20 publications, you find out that maybe 15 publications are all about quantitative studies, yeah, and 5 maybe qualitative, or maybe all of the 20 publications are quantitative studies. That will tell you that that potential that supervisor
Menegaskan ya.
in qualitative study. So, and therefore, if you want to be guided as a qualitative researcher, you can't get much help from this supervisor, this person whose expertise in a quantitative study. So you might withdraw, or you might think of shifting the supervisor, potential supervisor, find another supervisor and read their publications again and see what research approach they tend to use in their study. If it's qualitative, mostly qualitative, and then you are interested in doing qualitative study, and then you can go ahead applying for that potential supervisor to be your supervisor. Okay, and this will help you a lot in the way that to save your time looking for a very compatible supervisor. If not, you will end up by following that supervisor or not, leaving or taking it. Yeah. So if you can be strategically by searching their publications, which will be able to tell you whether they're quantitative or qualitative, or can be both. So, for example, my supervisor, she doesn't like mixed method, she doesn't like quantitative. She just wants to do qualitative, and she's worked extensively on qualitative approach and like post qualitative studies and those kind of paradigm. And then because once they interested in certain approach, they try to be very they try to be really expertise in that area, and they further develop that into their life, and they don't want to change it. They just want to be a qualitative researcher, but this is what interests them the most. Some people quite flexible. So my other supervisor, secondary supervisor, she's both. So she's kind of like a mixture of a quantitative and qualitative study. If you find the person who is a mixed method person, yeah, a dominant mixed method, then you are lucky, because if you want to do quantitative, he's fine. You do qualitative, is fine. If you want to do both, it's fine. So, but to have somebody who has this skill is not easy, and maybe not many. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, for the next from Pak Hendra Melanton, Bu Siti.
Okay. What is the best method to collect the data during this pandemic? Okay. Good.
This is a good issue.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I see many students have to deal with changing the topic in the middle of the study due to the reliability and availability of the data. Right. Yeah, of course. This is kind of yeah, we all concerned about the issue and during the pandemic. So I don't know if you're I know that you, for example, you have paid for your tuition fees. Let's say you have to graduate maybe the beginning of next year, and then you have to produce a proposal, or you have to produce a thesis, but then you can't go and collect data because of the corona, and that will be the problem, right? So you might not be able to finish your study as you expected. So in this case, I would say, um, yeah, adjust to the environment. So this is emergent situation. So feel flexible to adjust that. So because you can't go to the field and get the data, then maybe you can do it through online, social media. So you change your topic probably. So in the beginning, you might like to observe how teachers develop their teaching materials, or how students in the classroom interact each other. Yeah, but you can't do this because um, there's no interaction, because people just stay from home. So maybe you can shift your topic into something to do with online learning. So maybe you can change into the perceptions of teachers about online learning, or students' perceptions about online learning. Yeah, and that is one option. Uh, what else can you do about this? You might if there are online classes, you might do these online classes observations, or uh, so when teachers and students have online classes, you may like to ask for their permission to be able to observe your online teaching, yeah, and to observe teachers online teaching, and you can use that as data, and that is flexible. So yeah, be flexible, yeah, but yeah, this is about the flexibility. So it's very important to be flexible, because we never know when the pandemic ends. Yeah, nobody knows. So if you
Yeah.
just wait for the pandemic to stop,
Yeah.
who can promise or who can say like, yeah, we know that we'll be gone by the end of 2020, or maybe
Mhm.
it will take another 2 years and 3 years, and then here you are suffering like, I can't get any data.
Oh,
We're waiting for 2 years for the pandemic to go, but it's still there. Yeah. So
yeah.
change as quickly as possible. Yeah, I would say that.
Okay.
Change your topic. Change your topic. It's not too late to change it. And maybe the school or your university has a policy that, in this current situation, they might give you some kind of like, what do you call? Some kind of, yes, some incentives, or maybe they say like, yeah, maybe you can pay half of the tuition fees, or maybe we can um, uh, postpone that, or we can, yeah. So check out what they policies at the school or university
Mhm.
when they deal with this issue. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay. For the followings from, wait a minute. Uh, Dere. Sorry, Dera from YouTube, Bu Siti.
Okay. Is it necessary to cite our potential supervisors to write our proposal, so that it sounds more appealing for them? Uh, okay. Um, well, you don't think that you can please your supervisors by citing their work. No. You okay? You know that they've published a lot, yeah, and to if you feel like you want to make them happy and to supervise you better, if you cite them a lot, no. Uh, if if the article is really relevant and it's really good, then you can use it. If it's not, then it's not, because one supervisors they can deal with different students, yeah. They for example, in education, me, my background is I was an academic manager at a language school, and my other friend, he was a lecturer in social justice in his country, and um, we have the same supervisor. So, but we are never. So our supervisor had never told us like, do you want to use my publications for your writing, proposal writing? They never did that, because it's not ethic. If you do that, I mean, it doesn't, it's not ethical. And also, um, um, if they do that, you can think like, well, you're my supervisor, but your article is not related to my topic. I'm doing professional learning, and maybe you've written something about social justice where you supervise other students on social justice, but I'm not talking about my research. It's not about social justice, so you can't force me to use social justice. It's about professional learning, yeah. So do not try to appeal. Do not try to make your supervisors happy in using the articles or publications in your writing if they're not relevant, okay? But you can cite their uh, studies or findings if they are very relevant to your study. I use some of my primary supervisors' publications in my study, but not a lot, maybe about 2 or 3 out of her maybe thousands of articles, but thousands of articles there. They talk about different issues like gender, uh, literacy, online learning, but professional learning, especially CBAR or classroom-based excellent research, is the one that I was doing for my research. So I wouldn't look at all the other articles from her publications to use in my writing. So you use maybe 1 or 2 or 3. If you think they are relevant to your topic, then you can use it. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. We have many questions, Bu Siti, but we are going to take 2 questions more.
Okay.
Okay. From Pak Handi Setiawan on Zoom.
Is the use of Enviver or Atlas helpful in analyzing the data? Okay, yeah. If you're doing a
Atau boleh kalau mau makan tapi ya.
so if you're doing a quantitative study, I'm familiar with Enviver, but I'm not a quantitative person. So Enviver is Enviver might help you with your analyzing that. Now, a good question. This reminds me of um, my supervisor. Yeah, because I was doing a qualitative study when I was doing my PhD in Brisbane, and I was telling her in my proposal that I was going to use Enviver. I think Enviver in my data analysis, but she said that like Siti, our theory or our theoretical perspective is not dealing with machine. Yeah, something to do with computerized system and all this stuff. That will take you away from human relationships, right? So she said that our theory doesn't believe in machine work. We want to deal with people because people to people relationship. It's nothing to do with the machine. If you want to have your interview done and analyzed by the machine, uh, it's not acceptable in our theoretical perspective. So you have to do it yourself. You have to do the interview yourself, transcribe the data yourself, and analyze the data yourself. You can never give it to a machine to do it for you. So my theory says no. So I didn't do it. If your theory says yes, okay, do it with the machine and Vibe or Atlas, then you can do it. Yeah. So it's all back to the theory. What the theory says about data collection and data analysis.
Okay. The last questions, Bu Siti. Maybe this is the same questions, I think. Also,
Okay.
from Pak Fazri also, why master degree and PhD must have attachment proposal research? You can answer this, Miss Siti, but for the complete about this, maybe they can follow our following info sessions, right?
Yeah. So this question is actually more relevant to our next webinar on Wednesday about winning a scholarship of your dream, where we talk about letter of acceptance. Um, uh, yes, of course, when you apply for entrance to university, as I said before, my webinar today is to help you with writing your proposal if you apply for a master or PhD in an English-speaking country. Yeah. So yes, proposal is number one to win the scholarship and to be accepted at a potential university. So therefore, I hope that what you have learned today can give you some ideas or insights into how you develop your research proposal before you apply for the scholarship or apply for entrance to university. So yes, you should send it, but you have to use the format. If you remember my slide on a generic research proposal, where the scholarship provider or maybe university will have their own format, because very simple one, very brief format. Maybe you can write only up to 2,000 words or no longer than 2 to 3 pages, no longer than 2 to 3 pages. So a very brief version, but the document tell the scholarship committee or potential supervisors and university to know, to have the confidence that yes, I'm going to supervise a potential students who have the research skills, who have done some studies or done some research design, and I'm happy to supervise these potential applicants. Yeah. So, yeah. And then how to get the letter of acceptance from the university? Why not waiting until Wednesday, where we can talk about this on Wednesday? Yeah.
Okay, in the same time.
At the same time, yeah.
Oh, at 9. Sorry, at 9. I will explain later.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we know your closing statement, Bu Siti, is there any comment from participant in Zoom?
And
Maybe one or two of you want to say something to Dr. Siti?
oh,
Ya, Ibu Mulyati or Ibu Rahil? Maybe is there any comment or direct questions to Bu Siti? No? Okay. Okay. This one is about VPT or English assessment test that you can get a score report. We are going to explain this by next sessions. Actually, our staff, sales staffs will contact you after the webinar, and for the first 10 participants who book the webinar today, for the book VPT today, you will get free for VPT to check or to know your English levels, and our staff will explain about what program will you take. And for the next events, we have an info sessions, winning a scholarship of your dream. Bu Siti will be also the speakers, and we are going to have Pak Hakiki also. And for the next week after, we are going to have how can academic English help you to study abroad. Our academic leader, Jody M6, will explain about these informations. Just make sure you are registered on the same link and choose the info sessions 1 or info sessions 2. And talking about our program, academic English, in the next September, we are going to have 2 classes for you all. The first is academic English. This is an ALICOS class or pathway program that designed by UTS Inserts. We are going to open in 21st of September. But before you join this class, you have to do a placement test or VPT test. Or if you have a IELTS certificate or something like that, you can directly enter to the class actually. And this program helps students to get a pathway. If you have a plan to study abroad without IELTS, you can join Academic English 3 to 6. And for the next slide or brochure, we have AA6 workshop and AA6 class. For more details about this, our staff will text you, will WhatsApp you or call you or send you an email. And okay, for the one who asks about the attendance, could you please write your name? If you cannot join the Zoom meeting, you can write your name and locations to the live chat on YouTube. The link already shared in the group and also on the email. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, all is done, Bu Siti. Is there any something to say or for your closing statement, Bu Siti?
Bạn phải cơ.
Hai Bu Siti.
Sini 10 ya, Wi.
Okay. Thank you so much for everyone for coming to the webinar. Actually, if you have any questions, we already make a group on WhatsApp. If you want to share something in this video, you can switch on your video and unmute your voice. Is there any something to ask? No? Mr. Salim Diara or Mr. Martinus? Any comment or something, Bu Supatmi?
Oke.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
So, good morning, everyone.
Okay, good morning.
First of all, I will say thank you very much, Dr. Siti,
because this explanation it has really helped me to understand more about my topic. I'm Salim Diarra from Mali, West Africa, but I'm currently in Indonesia, especially in Malang.
Okay.
And here I want to thank Indonesian government because I got scholarship from Indonesian government for my master program. So what I can say is to thank Indonesian, all people in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Salim. Is there any other people want to say something? No? Okay, thank you so much, Bapak Ibu, for today. We are so happy to have you on our second webinar, preparing your proposal for master and PhD program. If you have any questions, you can write down or send the email to information@studyenglishindonesia.com. For the one who asks about the material, we are not going to send the materials as our discussions. So if you wanna review or know about the material, you can visit our YouTube. The link already shared to you all. Thank you so much, everyone, for today, and see you on the Info Sessions one on Wednesday. Bye-bye.